13 is a brand founded for the creators, the innovators, and the motivators, for the people who get up every single day and strive to be better and leave a positive mark on this world. 13 is a fantastic clothing company, and the people that are behind it are passionate, creative, and some of the nicest people I have ever met. All of their stuff looks great, it's comfy, all the designs are so super cool. 13 has some of my favorite t-shirts and seriously my favorite pair of sweatpants I have ever worn. 13 has been a longtime sponsor and supporter of the Cory cast, and they wanted to extend their love to you, the listener. So when you check out their website at thur13en.com, fill your cart with some cool hats, hoodies, sweatpants. Just make sure you use the code word CoryCast at checkout and you're going to save yourself a little bit of money. thur13en.com. Make sure you tell them Cory sent you. Today's guest is a man with many different hats. Mott is not only a guitarist who can shred on the guitar and plays in a band called Ghostship, on a cover band, but he also is the host of a fantastic podcast called the Metalcore Nerds. But that's not all, folks. He also does marketing and poster design and all kinds of digital design for different bands. The man does it all. I have got to say, the second that I met this dude, for the first time, by the way, in person, was when he came to the studio to record this. I felt like we knew each other for like 20 years. We immediately clicked. And it must be because of all of our common shared interests. His podcast, Metalcore Nerds, focuses on all different pop culture things, from the latest movies to the hottest TV shows to the newest things that are happening in music. Sean has built a really warm, welcoming, really positive community centered around the Metalcore Nerds. He has built something that really is super impressive. Just the sheer amount of people involved in the community, to people posting and talking about all different kinds of things pop culture related. I was glad that I got to have Sean on the show because we've probably been Instagram friends or like social media friends for a while, but we never got a chance to really talk in person. And I'm glad we did, because we like immediately became friends. It was awesome to pick his brain on his process of starting his podcast, from designing different things. Like, the man is just a wealth of knowledge. And I was so happy that I got to share the time with Sean. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up and leave a comment below. These are all free things that helps the podcast grow, and I can reach a whole different audience just from something totally free for you. Doesn't cost you a penny. Now, if you want to check out what Sean is doing with Metalcore Nerds, I'm going to put all of his links in the show description below. So make sure you follow Sean on Facebook. You follow his podcast called the Metalcore Nerds. Follow his YouTube channel. It is very entertaining. Sean is a great human being. So without further ado, here is my friend Sean Mott. Likes to stop filming randomly, and I have to like get up and redo it. So hopefully we got it figured out. So now it doesn't.
There's a trick if you ever get I'm sure you have an iPhone, right?
I'm Team Android.
Oh damn.
I know.
So I was gonna say if you had an iPhone, you can use your iPhone as a camera. If you have an Apple computer.
Oh, to like film the whole thing?
Yeah, that's the camera I use for my podcast. Even though I don't do a lot of video stuff, but like all the clips you see in my video, it's my phone.
Really?
Yeah.
So when you're talking to somebody and you're interviewing them, you're using your phone as a webcam?
Yeah.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
The quality on it's really good too.
It's insane.
Yeah, so is mostly your podcast like over like Zoom, or like what program do you use?
It's called StreamYard, but it's basically like a better version of
That's
Zoom.
what I use too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
StreamYard's great. I love StreamYard.
It's amazing. It's the best for having the isolated audio of everything, especially if you have a guest, their audio is all it's like always a crapshoot of what you get. Some people have, because some of the musicians, so they have like the really nice mics,
right?
And you're like, thank God, yes.
And some people will talk to you through an AirPod that's very far away, and you can never, the audio doesn't come out as good
on their phone or something. And most of the times it's like fine, but sometimes there's just like noise in the background.
Right.
So it's nice when you have that separated audio track and you can just, oh, it's noisy there, delete.
Yeah.
See ya.
How did you learn like how to edit and all this stuff? Do you like how we just went right into it? We just started right into it.
Perfect.
It's easy, right?
I just started doing it. I don't know. It's like my main job is a designer, so like programs have always been kind of easy for me, and I've kind of dabbled with audio stuff, I guess, not just like playing around with stuff. So one of my friends who does a ton of like recording for himself was like, oh yeah, use this program. And I did, and I just figured it out.
Wow, really? Yeah. Just kind of self-taught yourself?
Yeah, as far as that stuff, as far as like editing audio.
Yeah, YouTube was my friend. Like I was trying to learn how
best.
to. I know, isn't it? That's how I solved 90% of my problems is from a YouTube video.
That's how I taught myself how to do video stuff, because I didn't do video stuff, and then when the pandemic happened, I was an agent still at the time, so obviously there was no tours happening anymore. So I tried to dive deeper into the design aspect of everything, and everyone started a Twitch channel.
Yep.
So I taught myself how to do like motion graphics and stuff to make like Twitch elements for people.
That's cool. So like when COVID hit, you were trying to like teach yourself all of that stuff?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
I was like, well, I have time. I guess I can learn it.
Right.
So I just started learning it. And it's like kind of like a big part of what I do for design stuff, because I do a lot of just like tour videos or stuff like that, or just like a marketing promotion for like songs that come out for artists and
right
stuff.
Right.
Like you'll see them scrolling through and you're like
the
new album
Spotify
out now.
thing, right?
Yeah, that too. The first motion Spotify thing I did was for ZZ Top.
What?
Yeah.
ZZ Top?
Yeah.
Dude, how did you connect with them?
I'm like a retainer designer for the Shelter Music Group, and they're like this massive management company, and one of their clients is ZZ Top.
Wow.
And that was
like hilarious.
The first week I got hired on, I was doing stuff for ZZ Top and Dance Gavin Dance. That was like my first.
Oh, Dance Gavin Dance too? Yeah. Oh my God, that's my jam.
They rap like Creed, Godsmack, Dying Fetus, stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
Dude, what a cool. I don't even know, like, when did you start the Metalcore Nerds podcast?
That was in the pandemic too.
That was during pandemic.
So it's like this March will be 4 years. Which is
so we started like the same time, because I started the Cory cast. It was literally every year when I do my business plan, I'm like, let's add something new to my business. Podcast was that. And I got like 4 interviews done in person before everything shut down. And then we had to like kind of change the way we were doing the podcast for a while. So when COVID hit, the idea was just kind of start your own podcast. What was the motivation?
I was so big into podcasts before podcasts had that like big boom, pretty much like in the pandemic.
Really, in the pandemic.
People had more time. I was like very into listening to podcasts since like 2016 or 17.
What were you listening to?
At first started with wrestling podcasts.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I saw this one big wrestling site started a podcast, kind of like as like now kind of every website has their own like companion podcast. And so I started listening to that, and I was like, like obviously I'm a big like Marvel fan, so I just searched Marvel and at the Apple Podcast app, and like a bunch of podcasts came up, so I started listening to them, and it kind of just like went from there.
Cool. Wow, that's cool. So, when you started the podcast, was the intention being to make a Marvel focused podcast?
Not really Marvel focused, but more just like pop culture, and I kind of had it in the back of my mind of, man, it'd be really cool if I started a podcast, but I was always, there's like a million pop culture podcasts out there. There's, you can throw a rock out there and you'll hit a pop culture podcast. Yeah. So I wanted it to be something that was a little different and a little unique in ways. And that's how kind of just like the name Metalcore Nerds is like pretty self-explanatory to what it is. It's like all just music people talking about pop culture. So it's, and kind of what it's evolved into, which I never really saw coming, is that it's a lot of bands and artists, when they're promoting a new album or promoting a new tour, they can come on, because they usually do a bunch of podcasts around that stuff to help promote, right? And now they can like talk about something that they like rather than talking about the album for like the 100th time. Right. We still touch on it and everything like that, because I have like a song of the week, and usually if it's like a band promoting something, I like to feature their song and then talk a little bit about the album and stuff like that. But
and you can kind of relate to that too, because with you being in the band, you probably shoes been on the other foot when you guys are trying to promote like an album or something. How many times you get asked the same question? Yeah. Right.
For sure. So, and like, I've had a lot of feedback from that. They're like, oh, it's so cool that I get to come on and like talk about stuff like I actually just like enjoy talking about.
Right.
And a lot of people don't really have like the friends or like the outlet to like talk about them. They're like, yeah, I'm like the only person that watches this stuff that I know.
Right.
So they get to like come on and like talk about stuff that they just like talking about. So that's been a really cool thing that I never thought would ever happen with the show, is that I'm very connected with all these PR firms and stuff. They're like, this new album's coming out. Would you like to have them on the show? And yeah, sure.
That's crazy.
Not, you know?
That's cool that it turned into that.
It's nice. It's cool. It's cool to have these like new relationships with people and just to have people on and be excited to talk about whatever.
Different, like cool, like pop culture things. Just like it's mostly seems like a lot of movies and shows and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's like the main focus. It kind of, I'm kind of trying to steer it away from the has to be a comic book based thing, even though
was that what it was before? It was like heavily comic book based.
It was, and it still kind of is, because I mean those kind of still dominate the landscape of pop culture for sure.
Right.
But I think, you know, listeners or people like in the Facebook group and stuff have realized that like, oh, this dude he's into like everything. He's into like all these different kinds of things. So I kind of just, that's the kind of pitch I try to like tell PR people too. And I'm like, if it's movies or TV, I'm down to talk about whatever. Mm-hmm. And then kind of trying to find the middle ground of something they'd be stoked to talk about, but something I'm also knowledgeable in. So it's not just like weird, random conversation.
You just try to find like, did you watch the new season of Invincible? Me too. Let's talk about Invincible, right? That's kind of how it usually works.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
Something exactly like that. So it's fun. It's like a fun journey. Sometimes it's kind of stressful to find the right fit or have something line up. Or sometimes I'm booked for like a month.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are nice. I'm like, oh, I know where I'm going for the next month. Cool.
It's like, it's stressful in the moment, but you got to like take a step back and like appreciate what you've built from it now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, were you anticipating that kind of growth, you know? Like,
no, even to the fact now that I get to, I mean, it's kind of turned into a little bit of, like, I write for a bunch of different outlets too. Like, whether it's movie, TV reviews, or, like, editorial type stuff. I've started writing for, like, 3 different companies.
Whoa.
And that's also helped open the door to seeing movies early for press screenings and getting press screeners of TV shows and stuff like that. And that's also something I never thought would ever happen. Like, that was never in my mind when I started it. That like, oh yeah, that stuff will happen.
Yeah, that'll be.
Like,
yeah.
I never thought that would happen. Now it's happening like all the time.
Is there ever a guest that you've had that you've been like blown away that they've been on or took the time to do your podcast?
There's been a few.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause I've had like 2 members of Bayside on.
Oh, nice, dude. I
is,
got a big crush on Anthony Ranieri.
Yeah, he was on one, and he's a massive Marvel fan. And I never knew that, because the bass player was easy, because he has a Star Wars podcast. It's him, the singer Yellow Card, and the bass player Story of the Year, which I've had the bass player Story of the Year on too. Both Star Wars related.
Dude, that's
episodes. Awesome. And to those, I'm like, I've listened to those bands since I was like 13 years old. Both those bands. Yeah. And I had them on, and then we're talking about Star Wars. And they're like, oh man. And like, even after the podcast ends, like, we talk for like a half hour just about random stuff. And
Bayside was the first band I saw live.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was the first band I saw live. It was at Warped Tour. And I only saw Bayside live because I was waiting for Coheed to play. Because Coheed was my all-time favorite band. So I think the Warped Tour was like 2006 or 7.
Yep, that sounds right.
And they had 2 stages, I remember. Yep. So I'm waiting in line for Coheed, and then Bayside took the stage, who I've never heard of, and they started playing, and I fell in love with them immediately. And I've been a fan of them like ever since, only because I was waiting for Coheed and Cambria to play. Then that's it. That's the only reason why.
That's so wild. I found Bayside when I was like 14 or 13, because Taking Back Sunny's Where You Want to Be came with a Victory Records sampler CD that had like Bayside, Atreyu, Hawthorne Heights.
I was gonna say Hawthorne Heights was on.
I think
Victory too, right?
Might have been on that sampler too. Like a ton of bands that like I discovered from that sampler.
Wow.
And I tell them that story. I was like, I found you guys from the Victory Records sampler, and they're like, that's crazy.
That's I know, right? I know they've been a band for so long now.
I think over 20 years or something.
Isn't that crazy, dude? Wow.
Insane.
Still touring, still like putting out awesome music. Like, their newest album was so good. I loved every track on that new album.
Super solid.
What I've loved, what you've done with the podcast, is you've kind of like built a community around it, which is like you're almost at 1,000 members for your Facebook community group. Was that like intentional? Was it intention to build the community around it?
Like, I mean, it's kind of always the goal when you start something like that. But the Facebook group kind of like took an identity of its own. It's like obviously an extension of the podcast, but it's almost like a separate thing of the podcast too. That, you know, I just started it. I was like, oh, this could be fun. Just having, you know, a bunch of my friends in, and then people start inviting their friends in, and it's like it's almost like this haven for people to like talk about, you know, nerdy stuff or pop culture stuff. And it's even that I'm trying to steer, because people are like, I don't know if this is like in line and stuff, and I'm like, you can post whatever you want here, like as long as you're not, you know,
being anti-Semitic
as long as you're being respectful of everyone, I'm cool. You can promote your music, you can promote your own podcast, like whatever you guys want, like it's cool. And I love that it's become a thing where like other people post, like a new trailer came out, someone else is posting it before me, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh,
kind of takes a little bit off your plate, cool. But also creates like this collaborative, cool energy where everybody's like building and contributing to something cool. In all different subjects too, which is really cool, because like I would imagine that also has helped the podcast grow its reach too in a more like organic way.
Yeah, because it's like all word of mouth.
I was gonna say, do you ever pay to promote your podcast?
No,
I've never done that ever.
No, definitely never done anything like that, which is nice.
Yeah, so you have like this nice organic growth, and with that you have like a community that's kind of like built around you, that's super supportive of everything that you do, you know, which is kind of nice. Are there certain topics that you're looking to touch on in the future, or is it just like whatever new show is out?
Yeah, it's usually the episodes come out on Monday, so as we're talking now, the next Monday is Christmas. I'm taking Christmas off.
Yeah, rightfully so.
And then most of January is going to be like all my top 10s.
Oh, okay.
From this current year. So it'll be like top 10 albums, top 10 TV shows, top 10 movies. And that's going to really start it off. And then I know there's like a new Marvel show coming out. Echo's coming out in January. I'm
so excited for Daredevil. Yeah. I feel like I'm honestly kind of at Marvel exhaustion right now. Like I feel like there's probably a good chunk of people who are like, okay, another Marvel show. But Daredevil, dude, I'm pumped for Daredevil.
Daredevil's going to be an Echo.
Oh, he is? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
It's very like TVMA, brutal.
See,
Kingpin's
in
it.
Love. That's what I love.
I think that's going to be a surprising series for a lot of people.
I am so excited for Deadpool 3.
It's the only movie next year.
Dude, I watched Deadpool 2 for the first time a few weeks ago, and I am blown away at how funny and how good of an X-Men movie it was.
Yeah.
It was like a good X-Men movie that like no one talks about, that it was an X-Men movie for a good chunk. Right.
Juggernaut's in it.
And I just, dude, with Wolverine being in it,
it's going to be insane.
I am so pumped for it. Is that the movie you're most looking forward to next year?
It's my number 2 behind Dune 2.
Dune 2, okay.
Yeah, that was my number 1 for last year because it was supposed to come out this year.
Oh, really? What about Dune gets you so pumped?
I don't know. It's just the world they create. Well, obviously it's based off a book, but the world just Denis Villeneuve like adapted on screen, and it's just like so grand, and I don't know. He created such a massive world that I don't think should have really worked in a movie, but did, and I just love.
Did you read any of the books or anything?
I've read like a quarter of the first book, which is
they're
like
thick though, dude, aren't they?
Dude, it's like 800 pages or something.
No, I'm all set.
Yeah, it's so, and it's like a weird read because if you've seen Dune, like a lot of like the verbiage and lore is like weird. It's all weird.
When I was younger and Lord of the Rings came out, I remember being excited to read Lord of the Rings, and I started with The Hobbit, and literally the first chapter of The Hobbit is all of the dwarfs that come in through the door, and I'm like, I cannot keep up with all of these words, and I just shut the book and I put it away. And I couldn't imagine 800 pages in a sci-fi world where you have to do more than that. I'm gonna be honest with you, Sean. I'm a bit of a dum-dum when it comes to reading. I don't really read that often.
I read mostly comics, so it's like I read picture books. So I'm not that far away from. I like audiobooks way more.
Yeah, same.
You tell me.
Tell me read to me the story.
Read me the story like I'm a little baby. Thank you.
What comics are you reading? I stopped collecting comic books like a couple years ago.
I've been very bad at reading lately. But the ones I'm currently reading are there's this ongoing series called Saga, which is basically if you mashed up Game of Thrones and Star Wars.
Whoa.
It's my favorite comic of all time.
Interesting.
But it was on a massive hiatus, and they had like 10 volumes out before the hiatus, and I read all those, and they just came back. So I'm like one volume just came out, the new one, and so I need to get that and read that, and then I'll be caught up as far as volumes, because like all the volumes come out, like months after the single issues come out, so I'm always behind, because collecting single issues is just like painful and nauseating to me.
That's why I stopped collecting them. I was just like, I don't want to go. It was like every Wednesday when comics released, and I was always just like, I don't know if I don't want to make a trip out there. But I've never read outside of, like, it was always Marvel for me. It was always Wolverine and Spider-Man were always my two reads. But I haven't read in a long time.
There's so many good ones. Saga, like, when people are like, what comic short did I go? Saga. And there's also this guy called Daniel Warren Johnson, and he wrote this. He's written, like, a couple, like, original comics, but he wrote this one called Murder Falcon, and it's basically these monsters come up to like take over the world, and the only way you can defeat them is with like heavy metal.
Oh, dude, that's right up your alley.
Yeah, and it's crazy, because like I read it at a certain point when I like got back into playing music, when I didn't play music for years, and his whole thing was he stopped playing music and he needs to get back into playing music to like save the world.
In order to defeat this alien, you need more chunga chunga.
Yeah, dude. I was like, this is the sickest thing ever.
Yeah.
But he also wrote this book that I own, but I have not read it, called Do a Powerbomb, which is like a wrestling-based book that I've also heard. Like, he totally gets you in your feels all the times. It's like this wild, like, grandiose stories, but he always gets you with the emotion, which is like, that's my biggest thing. Was if you get me emotionally, I am done. Like, that's all. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want. That's what I need. And he is like the king.
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because I just finished playing Spider-Man 2 days ago. I finished the story.
I'm not done yet.
I cried.
I believe I cried in the first one.
I know, dude. I was sitting on the couch, and when you finish it, it's a long cutscene. It's probably like a 15-20 minute cutscene.
Oh, it's like The Last of Us too.
Yeah, and then it's like, but it gets split up, because then it's like credits start, and then that ends, and then it shows you 5 minutes, and then it credits, and then shows you a few more. And I was just like sitting on the couch, just going, because it made me so sad. It made me feel so happy.
That's
just
Spider-Man.
because
Spider-Man.
Because it's Spider-Man, right? Like, to me, Spider-Man's tied to this emotional connection from the 90s cartoon show when I was a kid. Yeah. And I just feel like they executed that game from start to finish so well, story-wise. It's like the perfect Spider-Man story.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just got to... I'm a little bit past the beginning of the Venom stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
So.
tip of the iceberg, dude. Yeah. Tip of the iceberg. Shit gets wild in that game. But I'm just
I got past the Mary Jane thing. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Thank God. That was rough.
Yeah, I was like, ooh. I texted my friend who like beat it in 2 days. I was like, how do you have the time to do that?
Yeah.
And I was like, this happened? He's like, yeah, dude. And I'm like, game is like, even the opening sequence, I'm like, this is the greatest Spider-Man movie to ever happen.
That's what I felt like. I felt like,
insane.
I felt like I was playing a Spider-Man movie because it was just like, it was so cool. The story was really great. And I don't know, I just love the balance between Miles and Peter. I think it's just perfect in that story.
So incredible. I love what they do over there. It's
now the thing I don't like is those data miners right now releasing stuff about Wolverine. Like, I don't want to find out information about Wolverine through a tweet.
No,
that's supposed to surprise us. That's driving me nuts. That's driving me crazy. And I also feel bad for Insomnia, because
sucks.
I know, especially when you work that hard on it. Yeah. And I just read that Spider-Man 2 had one of the highest production budgets for video games. And it's like, obviously they spend a lot of time and a lot of like honed precision timing, and for some dweeb in his underwear at home to release. I know, that's what I feel terrible about. But what do you think is like your top favorite Marvel game? Would it be Spider-Man?
Yeah. Easy.
Because I can't think of another Avengers. Avengers was kind of a dump, though. I didn't really enjoy it.
The story is cool. The gameplay was so boring. Yeah. It was so repetitive. But that's what got me through, because the story was actually really interesting and cool. Mm-hmm. But even when they had all the DLC, I think I played like the first DLC, and then I got bored of it. Because just the combat is so monotonous. It's like everything's the same over and over. And you're like, The Guardians game was actually really surprising.
Oh, the Guardian. That game was a lot of fun.
So good.
Yeah, that game I was you're like, you could have done a little bit more, but like it gets me full. You know what I mean? Like I love playing that because it was fun, it was silly, had the vibe of the Guardians. Like it it didn't take itself too seriously, you know?
But it still had stakes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it still had stakes.
It was like a awesome adaptation for that team to be like. That was such a sleeper, I think. I think Avengers ruined.
Yes.
I know that movie. I think that game still did pretty well.
The Avengers?
No, Avengers did bad.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
Because I think word of mouth thought that people were like, oh no, this game's actually really awesome.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, okay. And then everyone
We'll give it a chance.
like, this is cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but yeah, the whole Avengers thing. It's like Avengers isn't even online anymore. You can't even.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I think
you can't even get it now.
I think you can like play it still, but like they're not adding any new stuff. And I think there was that online where you could play with people. I don't think that's the thing anymore.
No more.
Like I think they shut it all down.
They're like, all right, we need to walk away from this game before we put any more ounce of time in it. That's too bad. Now, back to the podcast. When you started it, how was the growth like intentional, or was this whole thing like unplanned?
It was planned from the beginning. I'm a very kind of. Once I'm into something, I'm kind of 100% into it, and probably to a fault most of the time. So when I started it, I hit up, even though I'm a designer, I wanted to like include my friends in like the process. So I had my friend make me a logo. I had my other friend make me an intro like song for the podcast. It's still the intro song for the podcast and stuff like that. So I had it all ready to go. I hit up a bunch of friends who I already knew were nerds and were in bands. Was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. And I recorded 3 episodes and launched 3 episodes at once.
Oh, you lost them?
Launched them.
Oh, launched them. Yeah. I was like, oh no, you recorded 3 and you lost them. Okay, never mind.
So I had like a plan ready to go. Like, so when I launched, it's like the logo's there, all the social media's there, everything like that. It's all ready to go.
Yeah.
So I did have a plan, you know.
Right.
Per se,
but
it
the growth,
I didn't have like a year business plan, or I didn't know. Even I posted something about it like on Facebook, being like, would people listen to me if I had a pop culture podcast? And the reception was like, I was like, if 5 people respond to this, I'll do it. That's fine. That's good. That's good enough for me. But like a ton of people responded, and they're like, oh hell yeah, that'd be awesome. So I was like, whoa, okay, maybe I have something here, you know. And then it's just kind of been. Keeps going.
Are you diligent about like putting it out on like multiple platforms? Like I know it's on YouTube. You can watch.
Not even on YouTube actually.
Oh well, you had like clips, right?
I put clips and stuff on YouTube.
Okay, gotcha.
That's my big short. I always do a short per episode. I try to do like one short per episode that goes on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram.
Do you cut it yourself? Like, do you do the editing for the short yourself?
I edit them all myself. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's time consuming?
It can be, but I kind of have it to like a system where it's pretty, and that's kind of with everything with the graphics and stuff. Like I have like a template. The biggest time consuming thing is that I painstakingly edit the audio for it. Oh. That's why I don't do full video. Because I guess I could edit the video and then export the audio, but I've found on my YouTube channel so far, because I used to put the full episodes, like you can still find full episodes on there, but it doesn't do well. Oh. So like I shifted from doing shorts or trying to do short form content. Like I've done a bunch of like out of the theater reviews when I go to press screeners and stuff, and that stuff usually does way better. So, and I've been kind of trying to like, I started a newer show. We haven't done it for like the past month, but me and my friend Matt, we've been doing this like New Music Friday, or because I get a lot of albums early from these PR people, so like we'll review albums and kind of dive deeper into
one of them was He Is Legend, which was an old school band I haven't listened to in forever, and when I watched you talk about He Is Legend, I had to bump that album because I was like, I haven't heard these guys in forever. I forgot how much those guys make me want to punch a hole in the wall and get me amped, you know?
Yeah, the band's awesome. I had the singer on actually too. He's super cool guy. But yeah, so it's just trying different stuff like that. Like I've been thinking about diving into like trailer reaction, but I always get like weirdly scared and self-conscious about that stuff too.
In what way? Just like because you don't want to be like the typical like YouTube thing, like
or it's like,
but it fits like your niche.
I don't know. I get so weird about it.
It's always like, what if no one watches it? No one watches it. And I'll say like honestly, I'll be transparent and like listens versus watches on YouTube can be completely different in terms. I I had Betsy on, and Betsy's views, there were like 160 views on the video, but the audio had like 20. So it's like, it always seems to be like this imbalance between the two. Yeah. But I'm always looking at it like, if I had 20 people in a room all watching what I was doing for the video, I'd be pretty stoked on it. So it's like, don't get caught up in the views. Just like put it out there because you like doing it, you know?
Yeah. One thing I want to implement is an idea I had is I kind of want to do like trailer reactions with people from bands.
Oh, yeah.
It might be like a logistical nightmare kind of because it's so hard because it's like, oh, yeah, the trailer's coming out. So then you have to kind of like set aside a time and then it kind of has to get released in a time where it's like makes sense and it's still in the algorithm.
Right.
And so it's
like almost like immediate. I feel like the trailer reviews got to be like quick, right?
Yeah. So it'd be hard to kind of like
schedule it, then also
edit it,
yeah, right.
Then get it up. I feel like it's kind of an impossible battle, but I think it'd be cool if I could make it happen. Or maybe I'll just kind of like gather a group of friends that are kind of in that space and be like, okay, if there's a trailer coming out you want to do, let's do it.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Can we do it immediately?
Yeah.
That would be like, how quick can you turn it around? You know what I mean? Especially when you do it a group. When you do it solo, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Right.
Just do it. Done.
What is the future for Metalcore Nerds? Like, do you have any big ideas that you want to do for this year, or maybe you're keeping that under your hat?
No, I mean nothing huge. The big thing I've wanted to do for the past couple years, I want to do a live episode.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I don't know where I'd do it. I don't know if I'd do it closer to home, like in Utica, or if I try it in Syracuse or something. But that's been a thing I've really wanted to do. I've been talking about this with this guy who kind of runs over this cinema in Rome about trying to possibly get like early access to certain movies and do like early screenings, like Metalcore Nerd Presents, and like we do like fan events of like seeing a movie a few days early, and you know, people coming and getting able to see it and stuff like that. That's another thing I want to do. A lot more stuff like that is kind of the stuff I want to do. I would love to have something like this where I could do in-person stuff, but it's so hard with bands and schedules, and I don't really live
in a scheduling nightmare,
and I don't live in like a premier spot where people are like coming through all the time. It's not like I live in New York City or LA where it's like you're always going to have a stop on the tour. You can just come early in the morning and then go to your show stuff after. So it's like, even now, I'm like, even if I did have a space, like how many times would I actually do it?
Right.
It's such a hard thing, but it'd be nice to have.
Right. Yeah. And the ease though of doing it all online is so nice because you could like do the interview, hop in, hop out. There's no drive time. Everybody just gets to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's just something, I think you get a better read on body energy when it's in person.
In person is so much cooler.
Yeah. A little bit more, it's got a different vibe to it.
For sure.
And I don't know, it just creates a different like tone for it. And the setup isn't bad. It really is not that much to like do it. It's just having the spot and the logistical means to do it, you know?
Yeah, that's the big thing. But that is like a massive kind of like end game goal, I guess, with the podcast. And obviously, like I'm making like, you know, tens of dollars on the podcast.
Yeah,
I would like it to become like a more regular source of income.
I would love to do this full time as my only job. That'd be sick.
It'd be like I'm a psychopath, so I would need to still do other things. But being able to like make like a good chunk of money off it, and I think the potential's there. It's just I gotta get to that point. And I've had some, like I have a partnership with Eargasm, like the earplugs.
Yeah, yep. So I heard the ad that you did for it. It was really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's sweet.
Did that myself.
Did you? Yeah, that's cool.
Just
do you do it every time when you do an episode, or do you have
literally
the
started
one?
With every episode.
You started with every episode.
That one is not like a thing where they're like I'm getting paid like ad dollars. It's like a commission thing. So it's like they use my code, I get a cut of the commission. So I push that all the time in person.
Yeah.
People are like, oh man, I need new earplugs. I'm like,
yeah.
Eargasm.com, code Metalcore Nerds.
Yeah. The sponsorship is the hard. I honestly don't focus any time on trying to get sponsors for the pod. My friend Critter, he's good friends with Chris Smith.
Yes.
He's the one who makes the 13 clothing. When I met him at the wedding, I was talking to him. I'm like, you should do the episode of the podcast. And then we talked, and he's like, what if we sponsored you? And I go, dude, you don't no money. We'll just let me just spout and talk about how cool your stuff is. I love your shirts, and then you just put a code in, and we'll keep track of how many people we send your way, and that's it. So I don't make any money off the 13 ads, but I just like having a way to support Critter and tout a really cool product, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't really put energy in the sponsorship as much as I probably should.
It's a hard thing. I've had some conversations. I have a friend just from when I knew when I was younger, and he like works in that space, like the podcast ad space, and he's like, I think I have some people I could like introduce you to and stuff like that. That would probably be like a good fit for even like smaller shows like yours and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I think that might be a good conversation to have in like the new year, just to see where it goes, because like that stuff would be so massive to be able to. Because, you know, like even when you have a podcast, so you unknowingly, not unknowingly, but you pump money into it. It's like I have a website I pay for every month. You know, it's like
I was gonna say I loved your website. I love how you built the website. I don't really have a website for my podcast. Did you design that all yourself?
I mean, it's all based on Shopify.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a template, but I plugged
Built
everything in there
and
and customized the colors and everything like that.
Right.
I'm working on a new one for next year, hopefully, because a big thing I want to do. My wife Sam does photography and stuff, so I want to host a lot of her photography work from shows on there,
nice.
as well as like galleries.
Yeah.
And I think I might just combine everything. And I haven't even talked about this in public. It's not like it's like a massive
You're hearing it
announcement.
here first, folks.
It's like a massive announcement or anything, but I think I'm going to combine everything I do under like the Metalcore Nerds banner, like even all my design and stuff. So I'll probably put like an online portfolio and stuff like that.
I love the name Metalcore Nerds. It's so good because it's like it fits the bill perfectly because you guys are just hardcore dudes that love nerdy shit like comic books and stuff like that. That's cool. Is there any guest that you would like die to have on?
I really need to get the singer of Yellowcard on because he's the only person from that. It's called the Thank the Maker podcast. So I need to get him on, for sure. I'm just waiting for the right time. I just started a relationship with the PR firm that handles them, so it's definitely easily doable. But that's a big one. I really want Chris Motionless on the show.
Chris, who's that?
He's the singer of Motionless in White.
Oh, okay. Why? What's the draw?
I don't know. I just think he seems like a really cool dude. Like every time I've seen interviews, he just seems awesome. Just anyone, I love finding out, like, even like when we talked about Anthony Rainier, I had no idea he was into Marvel at all. And then their PR person like told me like, oh, he loves Marvel, so you should have him on to talk about Marvel. And I was like, yeah. So stuff like that.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Always,
No problem.
Like I had the drummer of Killswitch on.
Hell yeah.
We just talked about like favorite TV shows ever.
Yeah.
And even that one, I was like, I'm talking to the dude from Killswitch. On my podcast. So anything like that, like I always like the weird surprise ones that just happen, not even on purpose, but like on accident. Where I'm like, hey, I need someone for this week. I maybe talk about this, but I'm willing to talk about anything. Like, who do you got? Yeah. And then sometimes I get hit with that, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude. So that is awesome.
Those are kind of the singer of Yellowcard is definitely a big one.
Because that would just be fun.
Yeah, that I want to get and just kind of complete the cycle.
Be like, dude, I remember when I had you on my 512 megabyte MP3 player listening to you, and now you're right here in front of me. That is wild to see back in 2005.
And it's so funny now because it's like I'm in that cover band and like we cover Yellowcard, we cover Story of the Year, so it's like so funny to like have them on the show, and I'm like, I play your guys.
Seems kind of surreal. Seems kind of surreal, right?
It's so wild to me.
What is one of the biggest things you've learned from creating your podcast?
It's really time consuming.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like a gift and a curse. It's like really fun to do, but sometimes when I'm editing, I'm like, I'd rather be doing anything other than this right now.
That's why this podcast is every other week. I did every week for a few months, and I just could not keep up with everything and juggling. And I'm like, when I get home from a long day, I just want to sit and like unplug and play Spider-Man. I don't want to be stressed that I need to get this episode out. So it just went to every other week just because my time constraints. If I had somebody to edit it for me, I probably would do it every week, but I just do not have that pay or the capability to do that.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like if I could justify some of the time with like money.
Yeah, right.
That would be such a big factor. Even if it was just me still doing it, if there was something, coming in where it's like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'm getting paid for this. Like,
you could pay for somebody to like take something off the plate.
Or well, even that, or even if I'm just like, I'm actually getting paid for this. Like that's an easy thing for me to be like, that's fine. I can justify this time rather than doing something else. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is just kind of even trying to like, even it's like a hobby, it's a fun hobby, and it's like a very positive thing and a thing I love doing. Learning to kind of sometimes like, balance your time and your, like even you moving to like every other week, you need to like know when to step back a little bit and not go balls to the wall 100% of the time. That's been a big thing I've learned, I think in the last couple of years, that can wait till tomorrow or something like that. It's such I had such like a time anxiety thing about like, oh, this is on my list, I need to get it done. And I've gotten a lot better of like, I can just do it tomorrow. That's fine.
And the power of saying no too. For me, the past couple of years, I would say since I had Ashton, I'm still guilty of anytime someone wants something, it's always yes for me. Right. But sometimes I'm like, I got to take a step back and realize like, do I have the time available to do that? Especially when I'm trying to juggle 7 things. You're a man of many hats. You're doing so many things. You're doing your design, the podcast. You're playing in Ghostship, and then you said you're playing a cover band too.
Yeah.
So like,
and I play in another band too.
And you play in 3 bands. You're doing 2 side gigs, all while trying to like keep up with pop culture and staying on top of the newest shows and what movies are out, what video games are out. So it's really hard to like balance all the time.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Do you have a process, or is it just like
it's like a day by day thing? Cause it's since I like work for myself and a lot of all the jobs that come in, even jobs I'm like technically on retainer for or stuff like that, or contracted to do, it's still on a what comes in basis. You know what I mean? So I kind of structure my day on like what I need to do, but sometimes those days completely change also. Right. I could be like, I want to do this today, and then something comes in that's a rush that I need to do right then. So it's kind of like that thing needs to move to the side. I'll come back to it after, stuff like that. So it kind of is a day-to-day basis. I like to try and plan my like podcast recording and stuff, because it's like obviously I record the week before for the following week and stuff like that, so I kind of try to plan it around like what's coming out, who's available, and just have it set so it's not a thing I really have to worry about. And it's all done via emails, which is like like I'm sure your job is similar, like a lot of your job is emails. So I try to always get that out of the way and be very fast to respond and stuff like that, so that stuff doesn't lag. But
I'm the same way. When I got an email in my inbox and they need an answer, right. I'm like, we're going to figure it out right now. Because I don't want it. Because if I say I'll get to it in an hour, that means I'm going to forget about it. I'm going to feel like a schmuck when I forget about it tomorrow.
Exactly. So I try to be on top with communication with stuff like that. But yeah, it's really just kind of try to take stuff day by day, or have like kind of a week plan. Like if I know, this band needs a merch, this band needs a tour flyer, or this other person who hit me up needs a logo or something, I kind of try to like prioritize it and be like, okay, I'll pencil it in for this day, I'll pencil this in for this day. It's like, oh, I know I have to record a podcast on Wednesday. Okay, that afternoon's blocked off because that's what I'm going to be doing that afternoon. Stuff like that. So I just try to prioritize my days and kind of have like a loose schedule with things, because it can always change, but that has helped a lot too. But like what I talked about before, being like, oh, this can wait till tomorrow,
I can adjust this, and
that has helped so much, rather than being like, I need to get this all done now, and you're like, I'm sitting at my computer until like 9 at night, right?
Right. Because like you're trying to know when the urgency is on top of the list, right? So it's like, dealing the podcast, as stressful as it is, what is like your favorite thing about it? Because there's got to be something that motivates you to still do it, even though scheduling can be tough.
Yeah, sometimes it can be tough. Most of the time it is pretty easy and fine and not difficult. But just the conversations, that's like the best part. It's always, sometimes you even have that like anxiety before you have a podcast, just like, how's it going to go? Like, am I going to sound like an idiot? Or
right.
Whatever thoughts go through your mind is just like a normal human. But then you have that conversation and you're like, man, that was so cool. And you can tell like the guests having a ton of fun, like talking about this stuff. And that's like my favorite part is doing that. Or when people Like, cause like a lot, like you said, the community has been so cool. So like people hit me up and they'd be like, "Oh, what'd you think of this?" Like just messaging me, being like, "Oh, what'd you think of this TV show? What'd you think of this movie?" Like, "Oh, you should check out this movie." Like I've heard what you talk about, and what you like. I think you'll really like this stuff. Like that stuff to me is insanely cool. Or when I post like a review of seeing something early, and they're like, "Oh, I was waiting to hear what you thought." Like so stoked to see it, or something like that. Like that stuff is so like humbling and cool. Like I never thought people would care about what I had to say about like movies and TV, like,
and just like the niceness of like, Sean, you like Dune? You're gonna like this very obscure series from Sci-Fi Channel that was on 10 years ago. Right. Like I like that aspect where it's like it's people both helping each other back and forth, and it's not like here's groceries for the week, right? It's like, hey, look, this is something I'm enjoying reading and watching right now. Sean, what did you love about it?
Yeah.
Why didn't you like it? Like it creates a really cool dialogue. You know?
I love those conversations. It's been such a thing that I think the internet has created this thing where everything has to be an extreme nowadays.
Right.
Like everything has to be the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And I've been touted as the guy who likes everything.
Dude, that's my problem.
Everyone's like, "Dude, you like everything?" And I was like, I may like everything, but I will tell you what I liked and didn't like about it, and I don't love everything. And I think that's the big difference. I was like, this is entertainment. It's meant to be entertained, and most of the stuff entertains me. I was like, there's stuff I don't like, and I'll be very vocal about how I didn't like it and why I didn't like it. I'm not just like, they call it like what, toxic positivity? That's like the big thing.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, even when I say I like something, I still give it criticisms.
Which screw that toxic get the hell. Just because you're come on, it's okay to be positive.
That's why I've leaned into the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse. Just lean into it. They're like, "Oh, you just like everything, whatever. No wonder you like it." And I'm like, yeah, but if you actually listen to what I'm saying, like I'm still giving, oh, this could have been better. Just because I enjoyed watching something doesn't mean it's the best thing ever. I just enjoyed watching it.
Right.
That's it. And I wish there was more of those conversations. Mm-hmm. There was like that new Netflix movie, Leave the World Behind, and I've had like a ton of conversations about it because I was like, I didn't really like it. Like I was like, I like the setup, but the movie just kind of ends, and I was like, I hate that. I was like, I wish it was like a full movie. And they're like, oh, it was like the book, and I was like, yeah, but it's an adaptation. They get to change whatever they want, I was like, what they set up in it is cool, and I can respect that. It's like well acted. There's some good stuff in it. Even movies I don't like, I can still pick something up that I liked about it most of the time.
Yeah.
There's some that I don't. I'm just like, this movie was kind of bad to me. Like I just really didn't enjoy it at all. But it's always those more thought out conversations that I like more. Like, oh yeah, what'd you think of this? Like, why didn't you like this part? Oh, why did you like this part? It's like on the episode I had in the Marvels, like me and my guest had completely differing opinions on like a certain like section of the movie, because he said something, I was like, I feel like the exact opposite, and he's like, oh, why? And like we had a conversation, and it was just like, it wasn't us yelling at each other, being like, you're wrong.
I was gonna say, I feel like, but this day and age, it's like no one has that conversation when they disagree with somebody. It's just like it immediately escalates into like a complete separation. You don't talk anymore, when it could just be like, Sean didn't like Dune because he thought it was too long of a movie. Okay, cool. Why did you think that they added some extra fluff to it?
Yeah.
Even though maybe I loved it, it's like, hey, we could just chat about it. It's cool to have different opinions. I could never be a reviewer because I like everything. That's my problem. I always tell my friend Mike that, where like if I go see a movie and I'm like at the movies, I'm like, don't care, love it. Just because I'm like, I love the experience of going to the movie theater, but like, I'm just terrible because I'm like, love it. How'd that movie go? Oh, dude, it's so good. That movie was terrible. Nah, I thought it was cool. That's my problem. It's like everything is awesome when I watch, especially with movies. Movies, I'm always like, because there's a part of me that's blown away at the amount of coordination and like editing and work that goes into it, that like it's got to be a really dog shit movie for me to be like, I hated that movie.
Yeah, it takes a lot for me to say I flat out didn't like a movie.
What is your worst movie, you think?
Ever? Thanksgiving. You ever seen it?
No.
It's literally the worst movie I ever made.
Is that something that you watched this year?
I watched it like 2 years ago on Thanksgiving. My friend's like, we got to watch this movie. And I was like, dude, why did you make us watch this movie?
Yeah.
That Thanksgiving was the worst string of movies I think I ever watched. Because then we watched Jingle All the Way 2. Yes, there's a sequel. It has Larry the Cable Guy stars in it.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with Turbo Man. It's just like the same premise, just done differently. It
just
is
done completely different.
not good at all.
Yeah.
And then we rewatched Good Burger. You know, the cult classic.
Yeah. Is it bad?
So bad. Like, it is
Really?
painfully dumb.
Good
Like,
Burger, like the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when like the new one came out. I was like, "There's no way I am wasting my time watching that movie because that movie is just like it is dumb. Like it is just stupid." Like,
Well, when you were younger,
it was awesome.
It was so funny.
I mean, I still love the dude song. You know,
Yeah.
he's a dude, she's a dude.
Because that's the anthem for life. We're
Yeah.
all dudes.
So I love that, but like I was just like, why did I think this movie was? And that's happened with like a lot of movies that like I've revisited when I was like, oh, man, this movie was so cool.
Yeah.
But it you know, you change as you grow up, and even like writing about movies, I think has changed the way I perceive movies in a way, or it's made me think about how I think it's turned me more from the guy who likes everything, even though I still do enjoy most things, to I can express it better of, yes, I thought this was really fun, but here's also what I didn't like about it, kind of thing, where it's a way
Because it
where
changed your perspective, your lens.
a little bit. And it's not bashing it, it's still positive talking about it. It was funny, like when I saw the Marvels early, I saw it like the Tuesday before it came out or whatever. And I posted like my non-spoiler thoughts on Facebook. And now that they have that new Facebook thing where you can become like a page, but you're also still just like a normal Facebook page. Like people can like my page and not be my friend. And so it's like anyone can see like what I post. Like if it hits the algorithm weirdly, and for some reason that hit the algorithm. And it was a positive review, but I like talked about the things I didn't like in it and what I would have wanted to see more of it. So it wasn't like I was totally over the moon about the movie or anything. And I got comments being like, oh, how much did Marvel pay you to write this?
Oh, really?
A few of them.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
Yeah, I was like, wow, I guess I made it.
Yeah, right.
People are saying I got paid by Marvel.
Yeah, right.
I was like, I wish I got paid by Marvel.
I know, right? Yeah, damn, son, I wish I got some money from Marvel.
I got a free drink voucher at the screening.
Whoa, easy, buddy. Easy. Don't say that.
Pretty much got paid to see that movie, you know? I got a free soda.
Oh, my God. What was your top few movies this year? I think you just released a post on it.
Most anticipated.
Yeah, most anticipated for next year. What's most anticipated for next year?
For next year, Dune.
Dune 2.
Deadpool's a big one. Deadpool 3.
Why is Deadpool 3 not number one versus... Is it because Dune's a much larger scale? Cooler story, maybe?
I'm just excited to see where they're going to go with part 2. Like, part 1 was kind of like a massive setup in ways. So I'm just like so stoked to see how it's going to kind of mostly culminate. There's already been talk that there's going to be a third movie to kind of complete the trilogy, which would be the second book. But this movie completes the first book. And I'm just really stoked. And it seems like it's going to be way more action heavy. And everyone who's read the book is like, dude, it's going to be crazy. So I'm just... And I love Denis Villeneuve. He's like one of my favorite directors. So, I mean, number 2 is no slouch. Like, I'm so stoked for
Deadpool 3, right.
Like, Sean Levy, the guy who directed it, I think what him and Ryan Reynolds has been doing, because he's done, like, the last few Ryan Reynolds movies. He did Free Guy. He directed the Adam Project that was on Netflix as well.
Oh, nice.
So
I didn't know that.
kind of been this like nice collaborative team going on. So I'm like really excited to see what they do, and the fact that
I got such a man crush on Ryan. Just like
Same.
his lifestyle and just like what he does and him as a human being is just like, God damn, I wish I could.
He seems so cool.
I know, right? Yeah.
He just seems like the nicest guy. Like even like I watched that Welcome to Wrexham. Well, the first season I watched that him and Rob McElhenney bought the football team.
Yep.
And just seeing them hang out, I'm like, I wish I could be friends with them.
Yeah, I know. I said this. I said the same thing to my wife when I watched. I was like, God, the things I would do to be friends with these guys. I've also have watched It's Always Sunny. It's Always Sunny is my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.
It's number one, and I don't even know what ranks number 2. It's Always Sunny has always been number 1 for me, and I've always those 3 guys and D all together just such a funny mix, and Frank too. Frank Reynolds, right? Danny DeVito. Such a good mix, and like watching Rob be out of character and be like a genuine human, right? Like not just Fat Mac, you know. Was really cool to see, and his friendship with Ryan, I'm just like, God, so jealous of the bromance. They're just like they're so funny together, and just great. Like, damn, if I was a billionaire, I'd go buy a football team because why not? You know,
why not? Like that, Ryan Reynolds owns so many companies and stuff.
Yes.
Like it's absolutely insane. But he's a business genius.
Yeah, he is.
He really is. It's like
marketing genius.
I wish I was as smart as him.
I was reading something online that was talking about why Ryan Reynolds is the best marketer in the modern times because of the way that he markets Mint Mobile. His for the long time he used his hatred for Josh Brolin to promote Deadpool 2. So like using like a fake arch nemesis to promote your business is actually really good for business because it creates the competition and creates just funniness because everybody hates somebody, right? Like it doesn't matter who you are. So, and it went in this like long list of things of why he is very successful in his marketing approach. I'm like, damn, I wish I was that smart with my marketing.
I don't know how his brain works, but it's like a marvel to kind of get a little glimpse into it. As far as this year, my number one movie.
Yeah, we got a little sidetracked.
So far. Oh, it's fine. Is Oppenheimer so far.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not see Oppenheimer.
The movie blew my mind.
The only movie I saw, admittedly, in theaters this year was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
The movie was really good.
That was so much fun.
Yeah, the movie was great.
It was a fun movie. Like I was just smiling and laughing. Oh, I didn't know. I saw Dungeons and Dragons too in the theater
was
too.
Also surprisingly, I didn't see it in theaters.
Thought it was gonna be terrible. My bar for that movie was very low.
You're obviously very into.
I'm super into Dungeons and Dragons, and the movie prior, which I think was like
right.
late 90s or early 2000s or something, was dog shit. It was terrible. And what they did with this one was really funny and really creative.
I really hope they do more.
Yeah, apparently they're in talks. I would love to see it just because it's such a great IP and there's so much that they could do with it. Yeah. And like what they showed in the movie was like perfect example of like playing at the table with somebody and also just the world of Dungeons and Dragons and the Forgotten Realms of where it takes place. That scene, Jonathan, is like the perfect example of like when you're playing with somebody and somebody's like, well, what's this character's name? And you as a DM have to make up a name and you're like, Jonathan.
That was like the bird in the beginning.
Yeah, right. And that's just like a random thing that comes out of your mouth, right?
Also,
so it's like it's perfect.
Best cameo of the year.
For who?
That movie.
Okay. What am I thinking of cameo?
Bradley Cooper.
Right, dude. Yes, Bradley Cooper. Yep.
What a shock.
Yes.
And what a great cameo.
Yep. Exactly. Yep. I totally forgot that happened.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Totally forgot that happened.
Probably the best cameo of the whole year. It is so good.
Now that I think of it, I haven't even seen the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse one. I haven't seen the new one yet.
Have you seen the new Guardians?
Saw the new Guardians. Yeah.
That's my number 2.
I love the new Guardians. I cried in that movie too.
I cried so much. I don't think I've ever cried so much in a movie in my life.
Yeah.
Like I cried through like 3/4 of that movie. Like that movie is emotionally draining, and that's why. Like I was like,
because it's also goodbye, right? It's also like we're saying goodbye to the Guardians. Yeah, for a lot of them.
Or at least that version.
Yeah,
for sure.
For that version, I don't know. I'm kind of I'm excited to see like what happens with Marvel going forward. They said that they're gonna focus less on quantity.
Yes.
So there'll be less stuff things coming out, but I would be curious to see. There's 2 things that have to happen for me. I need to see X-Men from
I'm guessing you haven't seen the Marvels?
I have not seen the Marvels. Okay, so we get some X-Men. Okay, no spoiler alerts.
That's kind of a spoiler, but
it's okay. That's fine. That's fair enough. Yeah. That's all I need to know to now. I need to watch the Marvels.
If anyone, watch the Marvels. I'm sure it'll be on Disney Plus soon because it's very bad in the box office.
They've owned it now they bought it from Fox forever, and they've been trying to figure out what to do with it.
I will say it'll be a familiar X-Men first.
Okay.
But until we get the new X-Men.
Okay. Interesting.
I don't think we'll get a new version of the X-Men until post Secret Wars.
Oh.
But I think we'll get a lot of new things after that.
Okay, cool.
I think that's going to be a big reset button.
Speaking of reset button, how about Jonathan Mott?
Oh, Majors?
Majors getting kicked out. Kang seemed to be like the next big thing that was going to happen.
Not anymore.
So if you're Marvel, what do you do from here? Do you shift? Do you recast Kang?
Nope.
Leave
him alone.
Do you make a whole new grandiose villain?
Yep.
Or Secret Wars is a great place to go.
Oh, yeah.
But did you ever read Avengers vs. X-Men?
I feel like they can do both.
They could. They could do both. I love the writing in Avengers vs. X-Men.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a great storyline, and I was hoping at some point that was going to come to light during, and it still might.
It might, yeah. It would be really cool if, because now Avengers 5 was supposed to be the King Dynasty. And now they've said they've taken the name off. It's now being referred to as Avengers 5.
Avengers 5.
For now. A lot of people think it's going to be like Secret Wars will be kind of a part 1, part 2 thing. A lot to Infinity War was part 1, part 2, but then part 2 became Endgame.
Yeah.
And I think that'll probably be the case too, but it'd be really sick if they pulled off an Avengers vs. X-Men for the 5th one.
I would die for that.
Or if
movie.
they kind of did it within Secret Wars, like that could also be interesting.
No, it's been forever since I read with Secret Wars. What is the storyline with Secret Wars? Remind me. It's been forever.
Basically, Doom, the multiverse is collapsing, which they've already started to set up, and it's become like that's been what they've laid the groundwork for most, is that the multiverse is here, things are messed up, whatever. And basically all of the universes are colliding into one, and like a small group of heroes escape, and they wind up in this place called Battle World, which basically Doom becomes a god and creates this world where he kind of steals Reed Richards' life. And he's the husband to Sue Storm, and his kids are now his kids, and stuff like that. And it just becomes this crazy world where everyone's fighting each other. Like Venom is with the Marvel zombies and this weird pit thing, and Thanos shows up and Doom kills him, and he just rips his spine out of his body. And
oh my god!
Like
I don't remember any of that. I feel like insane. I thought I had read Secret Wars.
There's 2 versions.
Oh, okay.
This is like the newer version. It's the Jonathan Hickman version from like 2015 or something. There's an older version that like the Beyonder, and Doom's a part of it in some way, shape, or form. But he kind of like creates this battle world, and he creates this like contest of champions where he like pits people against each other.
Well, with the Fantastic Four, that would make sense, right?
Yeah.
Like with them doing Fantastic Four. Who is because they haven't announced the cast yet, which I think they're supposed to, right?
It's soon.
Rumored soon?
There's been so many rumors of that cast. So many.
Who's your top pick?
There's been
if you had a fan cast.
Pretty much everyone they've said that's been a rumor, I'm like, I can see it.
Yeah.
I really like Adam Driver, but I don't think it's going to be Adam Driver.
Adam Driver is Reed.
The newest rumor is Pedro Pascal.
I love Pedro, so
it would be awesome.
You put him in anything. Yeah, I'm here for it.
I feel like that'd just be such a major win for Marvel, because obviously it's been kind of up and down for them, even with the general audience. And
even with Fantastic Four. Like Fantastic Four has never been a movie. It needs to be a
home run grand slam.
Yep.
Like it's got to be knock it out of the park. And like the rumored cast now, I think it's Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, which she's from Mission Impossible, and she was.
Oh yeah.
She's incredible. I think she'd be fantastic as a Sue Storm. And then Joseph Quinn, who was Eddie in Stranger Things.
Oh yeah.
He's the word as Johnny Storm.
Nice.
And then I can't remember the dude's name, but the guy from The Bear, Evan Moss or something.
As the Thing,
which I think also would be
interesting. Wow, that'd be cool. I feel like the expectations for the Final Four or Fantastic Four is very like they gotta stick that landing right now. So hopefully it comes out with a good cast and a good crew for that.
The director is awesome. It's the dude Matt Shakman. He directed all of WandaVision, and he's done a lot of. Funny enough, he's done like seasons of Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right. That's why it was rumored that people. I remember saw it online.
Yeah,
people were talking that they were going to use
Sunny would just be the
Sunny. Yeah.
Which in like hilarious.
It would be very funny and I could work. Like I could see Glenn Howerton as.
Did you see Blackberry?
I've seen the trailer to it. I haven't watched the whole thing.
Phenomenal.
He's a good actor,
and it's not funny.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like I feel like. This could surprisingly work. Do you know what I mean? If he was serious and like Glenn Howerton was Reed and played the serious Reed role, and then you would have Rob as Johnny Storm. I think that'd be hilarious. Or I don't know, or maybe you make him his thing. I think the collaboration and the vibe between them would be really fun.
I really think Danny DeVito needs to be Mole Man though, regardless of anything. I think he's just the perfect casting for Mole Man.
Yeah.
So they should just make that happen no matter what. Like, I feel like that just needs to happen.
Yeah.
Like it's so perfect. Like it just makes so much sense.
That's funny.
But there's been a lot of wild rumors of like high caliber actors being like rumored to like getting parts in the MCU. Like Ryan Gosling's a big one. Like he had a meeting with Kevin Feige, and apparently he's going to be someone.
Or is it going to be X-Men?
Maybe,
right? Like, there's lots of rumors. I know it could be anything right now.
Cillian Murphy from Oppenheimer is the, I guess, Marvel's pick for Doctor Doom, which that's been a big fan cast for years.
That would be sick.
I'd be like, yes, please.
That would be sick.
Do that. Just do it.
Holy shit. Well, the next few years for Marvel, they got to stick that landing.
Yeah, Deadpool being the only movie next year, I think is the best thing they can do, because it's almost guaranteed to be a win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's no, like, Ryan's production company is co-producing it with Marvel, which is the first time that's ever happened.
Interesting.
That like a Marvel movie has been co-produced by another production company.
Yeah.
So obviously he has a lot of say in this. Like he helped write some of the script. Like, you know, he is so invested in this character.
Yeah.
I there's no reason in my brain why this movie's gonna be bad.
Yep.
Or anything less than incredible.
There's so many cool things like when you think of Deadpool 3, I get excited about Daredevil future. I get excited about the Blade movie, even though it's been kind of fumbled, it's things going back and forth. I love that Blade is going to get launched into Marvel, and we don't know if he's going to have a big effect on what is going on in the universe. But I don't care. I want another Blade movie.
The fact that it's rated R,
Thank you.
It's got a low budget.
Yep.
Like I'm like, yes.
Yes, please. Yes, please. Yep. Sign me the fuck up.
And I love that they're like diving more into this like mature stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I said, Echo's TVMA. It's like releasing on Hulu and Disney Plus at the same time. Yep. Obviously, Daredevil Born Again is going to be the same kind of vibe. It's going to have that same brutal, like hyper violent nature that the Netflix series had. And then we're getting stuff like Deadpool and then Blade that's rated R. Like they're finally diving into this, because it's like all those people who started watching the MCU, or you know, like
we're getting older.
We're all in our 30s. You know, like we love seeing.
When did the first Iron Man come out?
2008.
Right? 2008.
Yeah,
dude, that was 11th grade for me.
That was when I graduated high school.
Really? Yeah. So I was just about to Google. That's 2008, and that was the first launch of Marvel. That was like the first getting the tires underneath. What a haul! Oh my god, that's crazy. Now, well, I'm excited to see what they do. And then to combat all of this, then you have James Gunn relaunching the DC universe, which I don't get me started. I'm not a fan of DC. Not as like. Not that I hate the movies. I enjoy the movies, but the only superhero I ever care about is Batman. I don't care about any of the others. And I have a whole thing on Superman. I do not like Superman. I'm not into a superhero that can literally do everything. I'm just not a fan of that. I like a superhero that has his weakness, and I like that Spider-Man cannot run as fast as the Flash. Like I like that he doesn't have laser vision. He doesn't have the answer for everything, you know? Yeah. So I've always had a thing about Superman. I've always just been like,
I was similar until Henry Cavill's version of Superman. That kind of made me like the character more, even though I know that's not the best depiction of Superman.
Wrong. It is. It is. Definitely is the best depiction. Henry Cavill's Superman's the best Superman. I'll fight anyone to that.
He's good.
He was great, Superman.
Well, I don't think the movies he was in were great.
Yeah.
I think he was great. And I think if we got a new one with him, he finally would have gotten to that point, and it would have made the kind of darker journey worth it, because we finally would have gotten that like hopeful Superman, because like Superman's supposed to be like a symbol of hope and like, you know, good deeds and stuff like that. But I think James Gunn will, because I'm like
who's perfect for that role, like of relaunching and planning the DC universe. James freaking Gunn. That's who. He just has such a great creative mind to him. So like I'm excited to see what he does
at that kind of stuff. So it's like I've never been so excited about anything Superman related. A good one for you to check out is it's called My Adventures of Superman. It's on HBO Max.
Yeah.
And it's like an animated TV show, and I think it's like the perfect introduction for Superman for people who don't really like Superman or know anything about Superman.
Interesting. Okay.
It's kind of anime style a little bit, but it is such like a heartwarming, fun, cool show about Superman. And I feel like James Gunn's gonna bring kind of that vibe, but like even better.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait to see what he does.
I'm as excited for, and I will admit as much as I don't, because like I read some Detective Comics back then, but I was never like a DC kind of guy. But I could admit that I'm just as excited to see what the DC future is as I was in 2008 when Iron Man was announced and they were talking about Captain America movie, Thor movie. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like that excitement that I felt then, I'm feeling now when I see James planning and stretching his mind throughout the
him
DC
being
universe.
at like the creative center of it I have so much confidence in it until he proves me otherwise. Because every comic book thing he's done has been
like, knocks out of the park.
So good.
Every single one has been so much fun. Suicide Squad, Guardians of the Galaxy, like these movies are really well made, directed, and really funny. Really funny.
And
so
emotional.
And emotional.
At the same time. Like he like evokes like almost all emotion.
Yep.
Like even in the Suicide Squad, when they were like, oh, there's a Peacemaker show after the movie, I was like, I hate this guy.
Yeah.
He's such a douche. And then you watch the series and you're like, this series is like
this man.
It's like one of the best like comic book movie series like ever made. And I'm just like, how do you do this, dude? Like how do you continually pull this off?
Yeah.
And that's why I have so much faith in anything he's like down to do.
I think that's what DC needed. Like I felt like if they weren't going to do it with Zack Snyder, if you loved or hated the Justice League, I feel like they needed some person at the helm to plan these things out and not just like release the rights to random people to hobcob a story together.
It was like so reactionary / trying to do damage control on their own damage they did to themselves. And it became such a mess.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And people will still say it's a mess.
Yeah.
But whatever.
At least we'll get a reset button and we'll start all over again.
Yeah.
But damn, dude. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. It kind of turned into a metalcore podcast anyways at the end. You know what I mean?
That's okay.
So, yeah, I'm cool with it. That's fine. Dude, thanks for taking the time to do this. I appreciate this.
Thanks for having me.
Anything else that you want to talk about or pitch before it ends other than check out Metalcore Nerds Podcast?
Yeah, check out my Nerds Podcast. You can go to metalcorenerds.com. All our links there. And everything like that. Ghostship got a new music plan next year.
That's right. Dude, we didn't even talk about Ghostship.
We didn't even talk about Ghostship.
I didn't even talk about Ghostship. I had a crush on Ghostship when I was younger, and I'll admit, albeit I'm no longer straight edge, but
fine.
when I was 17, I loved Ghostship, and then I started training at Taikai, and then shortly after, Chris started training, and I was like, aren't you the drummer of Ghostship? And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Like, I knew who you guys were before I even got to meet Chris, which was awesome. And I think that was when, Keith started training shortly after.
Yeah.
But it was just funny. I was just like, loved you guys before. Then I got to see Chris then meet Kyle and Keith. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are awesome. I love this. And we didn't even talk about any Ghostship stuff. We just got too much talking about all Marvel stuff.
It becomes like a rolling snowball.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we're working on music, hoping to release it early next year.
New music, I love that.
Yeah.
How many albums are on or how many tracks on the album?
We have 2 songs like pretty much done writing, so we're looking to record those 2 songs, do music videos for them, put them out, and then kind of see where things go. And then Career Mode plays a lot around here.
Career Mode?
Yeah, we play at the
gig. Is your cover band?
Yeah, we play at the gig. Play all the bangers.
Nice.
All the bangers that you loved listening to when you were a teenager.
All right.
So much fun. People say cover band, they're like, it's like a show. It's like going to a show.
But that's also, people think cover band and they think like Eagles cover band.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like they think like an old school cover band.
Sure.
They don't think like you're doing covers of Bayside.
Yeah, and Blink-182
and Blink-182, yeah.
Mayday Parade.
Right.
Killswitch Engage.
God, Mayday Parade.
We do it all.
Oh my God, holy shit.
It's like, I love when people come thinking it's going to be lame.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, that was so fun.
Prove it wrong, son.
I'm like, I know.
That's awesome.
It's like a show. You come to watch a show. It's just like we're playing songs that like everyone knows.
Yeah,
like, literally everyone knows these songs.
Right.
You know, so it's just like fun. It's just a lot of fun. We play the gig a lot. We're playing there in February.
Cool. Well, this will be out before then.
By the time this airs, we just played a Christmas show there.
Nice.
We play at the Song and Dance in Syracuse every once in a while. We'll
sick.
probably play there in the spring or something.
Cool.
Love those people down there. I love After Dark, so it's
nice.
Cool. We just did an Ugly Sweater show there. That was really fun.
Oh, and Ugly Sweater?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Sick.
So it's a lot of fun. And then I've been playing bass for No Bragging Rights out of California, but we don't really have anything planned.
Damn, dude, you're like all over. You ever played this full of? You got so many balls in the air right now.
Yeah, I went on like a month-long tour this year. Flew out to California like 5 times.
Wow.
4 times. I don't know.
Well, your work at least allows you to be remote in some sense, right?
I mean, I'm like fully remote, so it's like I just...
Yeah. So you can go wherever and just still work.
I worked the whole time on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dang, dude. That's sick. Well, thanks for your time, dude. I appreciate it. And thanks for the shirt, too. Dude, that was awesome. I can't wait to wear that.
Yeah. I was like small. I was like, I only ordered like 2 of those.
Yeah.
I ordered one for my wife.
Perfect.
And then just one.
Yeah.
So it's like...
It's okay. I have the body type of a 13-year-old.
I thought medium. Okay. So I was like small.
Thank you, sir.
I was like,
thanks.
You can take the small.
Yeah, dude.
I'll
Thanks, dude.
never sell it.
Thanks, Sean. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you. Yeah.